How's it going, everybody? It's been a little while since I have been on the channel. I was on vacation in Australia, so big shout outs to all of the Melbourne Final Fantasy TCG community who I got to finally meet. Non-zero chance that I'll be moving there at some point in the near future, so I was great to be welcomed by a lot of new people. And I haven't been taking time off of Final Fantasy though. Obviously, I watched the World Championships. Big congrats to Alex Hancock's. But also, I've been really deep in the weeds ever since the full set revealed for how to make mono wind work. I've got a couple different variations, but I know earlier on, especially because a lot of people were watching the Sky Pirate stuff that I was playing earlier, I was really, really excited to see Balthier. So if you haven't seen new Balthier, he's a 4 cost. When he enters the field, or a wind character enters the field, you get to do a small ping 3000 to any forward. Then you can discard a Sky Pirate to activate all the characters you control. Both of the effects on this card are really, really good. Obviously, he gets a huge target on his back. He dies to Amaterasu, but he gives Wind something that it's kind of desperately wanted, which is a way to play defensive while curving out characters. And it's a bit weird because traditional Wind right now is playing upwards of 15, 17 summons, but Balthier doesn't want there to be summons, he wants there to be characters. Uh, I really like the card. I do wonder if he wouldn't be better as like a 3 CP 7K instead of a 4 CP 8K, but uh, very, very powerful in all of the games he's actually come up. And the card that I think he improves the most is a backup that I always said had a lot of potential from Opus 18, which is Kites. So Kites has seen a bit of experimentation as a Fran card. It's probably one of the best 4CP Category 12 characters. You can play it off of Fran, dig further for more backups, or do whatever else. But Kites checks a lot of boxes in this deck. He is a Sky Pirate, and Balthier does not care if you're discarding a forward or a backup Sky Pirate. He just wants you to have a Sky Pirate. So, and then his ability to break himself for positive value is really good as well. Just a fantastic card in general. Excuse the lack of focus. New webcam. I'm still trying to get used to it. We'll see. Hopefully, it'll kind of sort itself out. But I think Kites gets a lot better when you read Vieira. So, what Kites is looking for when Kites enters the field, he reveals the top 3 cards of your deck. If you hit a category 12, he activates himself, which is a very unique effect. There are no other backups in the game that have a chance to come in untapped, essentially. Like, the closest would be something like No-No, but like No-No would be a 3 CP backup for turn 1. Kites is potentially a 1 CP backup on the very first turn of the game, as long as you hit a category 12 character. I think in fair games, Kites flipping into Vieira is maybe the single strongest thing you can be doing in the game right now. The only other thing about that, though, is that you're only flipping 3, so your chances aren't super high. But we're playing a pretty large number of Category 12 characters. One set of cards that I think has been pretty underexplored, just because Wind has so many strong backup engines, is the Vieira engine. I'm on 3 copies of Jote, 2 copies of Fran, and 1 copy of Mirn. These are all Category 12, so again, if Kites hits any of these 15 cards, he will activate himself, at which point you can play your Vieira on curve on the very first turn of the game, which is just exceptionally good. Camera? Really is not wanting to cooperate, is it? And there's a lot of things this actually does. Again, Kites hits any of these, but Jote is an EX burst, so it's good to have 3 of her. She is an engine that gets 2 differently named backups. Fran gives small ping, which is great. You can go Jote turn 1, turn 2, Balthier, Fran. It's a 9k ping. You can kill a general, potentially, assuming they didn't rip your hand to shreds by that point. Fran is a Sky Pirate, so you could potentially hit Jote into EX, search a copy of Fran, discard Fran into Balthier, and activate all the characters you control. Fran is a 2 CP Sky Pirate that you can get back with Azura. Mirn is a backup that costs either 1 or is completely free if you have the Jote and the Fran on the field already. And the second effect is really good as well. I find that if this ever actually is like relevant or useful, then Mirn cracking a forward is just good. thinking of cards that it's broken. I've hit like a Griever with it, or just any number of those really expensive value cards that you have to remove or you lose the game. The only other backups I'm playing is 2 copies of Carpenter. I'm not fully sold on these. I love this backup cycle. It's really made me explore playing a lot more mono decks than I would otherwise. But there's also just an argument to play Thief instead. Thief costing 1 as opposed to at all times means that if Kites comes in untapped because you hit like a Balthier or a Jote or a Murn, it's the same card advantage as Vieira, and then you get the ability to cycle, which is really powerful. It's also a really good thing to potentially bounce to your hand with a Bismarck or something like that. But just the sheer speed that Carpenter allows you to curve out if you draw 1 is really, really nice. It's really close. If either of them were category 12, that would probably flip them to the other. I need to try the Thief, but I haven't actually had a chance to do it. But this is the entire backup lineup. Vieira being multiplayable does a lot of heavy lifting. Jote, any hand that contains Vieira, Jote, or Kites is usually about worth keeping as far as actually getting the curve off. Probably the best card in Wind, period, right now is Lulu. She is everything you could ever want. She's removal, she's recovery, she is 2 casts by herself when you combine her with all the summons. The only thing that's a bit strange is that Lulu wants you to play a large density of good summons, while Balthier wants you to play a good density of characters. And there needs to be a balance to that. In general, there's only one real sacrifice I made, which is I cut the Ace to run 1 copy of the 1 CP Chocobo. I swapped that for a different card later on, but you're very more than welcome. The card is good. 3 copies of the Bounce Chocobo. This is probably just the best card in any Wind deck. There's an argument that any deck that's playing green cards should be playing this. It's protection, it's enter the battlefield effects are the most important effects in the game. It's just good. There's no 2 ways about it. Maybe the strongest card in the game. I honestly think that it's basically ban worthy. It's literally free, since it draws you the card back. It's the only thing that really allows this deck to get off some of its incredible cast chains that it would get to. 3 copies of Dryad. It's another card that just this deck needs removal that's not ability based, given that if something resists ability based removal, then you kind of just lose on the spot. Dryad being a targeted summon is just really good. It's very easy for this to be a cheap cast that just nukes something out of orbit. I've had this hit for 26,000 before. 2 copies of Azura. I know that Alex Hancock's list was on 3, but 2 is usually enough in most Wind decks I've found. Maybe it would change if you're on just a Lusso turbo build, but in theory, Balthier might eliminate a little bit of the reliance on just Lusso 7 every single turn. 2 copies of Force of Alexander, the Pot of Greed. Pretty self-explanatory. 1 copy of Free Alexander. If this card is ever good, it is game determinative. 3 copies of Honorary Summon, Fina. I really actually liked the playing Fina as a one-of in decks that are on Chocomog, because you can technically use Mog 11 to search for Fina when she's actually good. And Fina is a very weird card that she's so powerful you don't want to ever discard her. But she's kind of slow, so you do have to discard her a fair bit. And there's no way to recover her. You can only recover cards that cost 2 or less with Azura, or Sky Pirates in this list. On 1 copy of Atomos and 1 copy of Evray, these are just generically good Storm Enablers. They're not as invulnerable as they used to be, but they can be recurred if they're not removed from the game with Neo-X Death. And just generally are, if they're ever found, they're pretty darn good. The card that I imagine will be getting a Worlds promo of soon in Lusso. This is the reason to be playing any kind of a Wind cast deck. Honestly, I kind of wish they would just ban Lusso so they could print Wind cards that don't revolve around Lusso. Like every single card just kind of becomes, does it commit to the slurry of cast-focused shenanigans sludge that turns into Lusso piles. I think that, honestly, even if I weren't playing the Balthier Sky Pirate engine, there's a good chance this deck is still on 2 to 3 copies of Lusso and just ups the summon count. I think there's an argument for playing like the Jack Garland, Sophia, Lulu, and then just playing like 20 summons with Lusso. 2 copies of Rosa. This is still probably my favorite card in the game, but World Champion was on 3 copies. I'm on just 2. I find that between the Balthier, the Atomos, and the Rosa, usually you have 1 extra cast enabler, which is all you really need most of the time to continuously pop off. As far as our cheap casts, 2 copies of Vaughn. Vaughn is probably the card from the set that has impressed me the most. I think this card is kind of the actual legend. I know that he's kind of a hero rarity, probably to match like the Ash. He's a very similar power level as far as just a card that you can cast for free as a huge, huge body that continues to dig. It does everything for the deck. It's a Sky Pirate for Balthier. He is cheap. He's a Category 12 hit off of kites. He's a huge body, which is good. Wind has been kind of lacking anything that just kind of resists removal for a while. Vaughn gives it that. Just a massive improvement in every way. I think that if you did ever cut the Balthier stuff, you could easily run 3 copies of Vaughn. 1 copy of Pinello. This is a card that's probably cuttable, but I've really, really enjoyed what she brings. She is another card that is effectively a free cast. If you have either Balthier or Vaughn on the field, she'll reactivate the 2 backups you used to cast her. And then when she dies, she can add back the Balthier, the Vaughn, or the kites to your hand, which I find is actually really nice. Wind tends to go very wide on board very easily, and having a recovery option if your opponent does board wipe you, I find is really, really good. For the other character count enablers, I have, for the new ones, 1 copy of Nini. This is effectively another copy of the Lusso effect, where if you can cast 3 cards, she draws an entry. Having Lusso that isn't actually Lusso, though, is pretty nice. One thing that ends up happening with Lusso decks a lot is you need to cast Lusso as your 3rd cast to efficiently get your 3rd cast for Rosa. But then you have to find a way to get the Lusso off the field with a Chocobo or something. And you kind of make him vulnerable at that point. Warrior of Light, Brynhildr, all these cases of small ping could then kill your Lusso on the stack, and you kind of lose your ability to do the board wipe. Nini allows you to do that little extra cast without ever having to worry about it. 1 copy of Riku. This was originally a copy of Chocobo EX. I found that just the extra character count matters a lot. She's been really, really good in testing. 1 copy of Ritz. This is probably cuttable if you aren't on, especially the Balthier. But with Balthier, she's kind of another copy of the Fran as a 1 CP forward that does a small ping on entry. And going Balthier Ritz for 5 CP does also just kind of draw you a card because you're going to kill something probably. 1 other Category 12 forward is Ash. This is another hit for kites. I believe we're on something, let's see. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19 Category 12 characters. She's just another card that you can cast before you get to your 3rd cast to kind of enable that. There are hands you can go like Jote, Fran, Ash, and feel pretty good about it if you know you're into like a mono water or something, where they're not going to want to kill the Ash, and you can kind of use her as a way to kind of dig further for more cards. Or like Kites, Vieira, Ash is very powerful. She probably could get cut if you're not on a Category 12 package with these, but I feel like if you are on this, then the Ash is probably worth it. 2 copies of Zidane. This is both your Mirror Breaker and just, as we saw in the World Championship, a very deterministic card. A card I wish I had room for more of. Bismarck. Just 1 copy as the final card in the deck. This, combined with the Balthier, is really, really potent. Also, I really like Bismarck bouncing Vaughn when you get ahead, as like kind of a way of recycling your cast chains. Obviously, bouncing Zidane is very good. Bouncing Lusso, bouncing Lulu. It's just an engine piece. Anytime that you have these 2 on field, every single win forward is a 5k ping on entry, which means that Lulu can kill them. And yeah, the deck has done pretty well. I will say it probably will struggle into exactly mono ice, which, as we saw by the World Championships, was one of the best decks. Stick around a little bit. I'll kind of walk you through kind of in my best Steve D copying how I would pilot this deck. Alright, so I always like goldfishing. I find that this is like honestly, like one of the most fun things in card games in general I like is just really to goldfish. Give decks a good shuffle and see how you pilot them in any given situation. I find that kind of helps you understand your deck better. You kind of get to reevaluate the effects on your cards. Just generally kind of a relaxing activity. Ask Monique, my girlfriend, I do this just a fair amount just to kind of relax and calm down a bit. So let's see what our hand is. Balthier, Jote. This hand is immediately keepable. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and draw a card. Vaughn. I don't think the Vaughn's gonna be live anytime soon, and I don't think I really want the Alexander. Let's go for Jote. And because I already have the Balthier in hand as a anti-aggro measure, let's go grab ourselves a copy of Fran. So now if our opponent plays like one big forward, we can pop it by going Balthier into Fran next turn. Or we can also just play the Fran if it's better to do that. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look. Lulu and Evray. Let's go one for the Evray. Let's go Lulu for Fran. I'm going to say that we're not under any real pressure. We'll Evray back the Jote. And we will pass the turn there. Alright. Atomos and Lusso. Nope, backups is a little bit sketchy. Go 2 for our Atomos. If we're playing a bit of a slower game. We could still go 2 for the Balthier, Lulu, back the Alexander, and then that'll kill something if we cast the Alexander. But let's go one more turn here and see what all we can find. Free cast Alexander and a second Fran. Okay. I think because we didn't draw another backup, we're in a pretty bad spot, to be quite honest. Let's go this and this. And probably the Alexander for the Balthier. We go the Evray for 1. And then go Azura, Lulu. Get back the Azura. Tomos activates 2. Can go 1 for Lusso for a draw. Hitting a Fina. Not loving that. Let's go one more turn. There's the Vieira finally, and the third Lulu. So this, and probably the extra Lulu for Vieira. Top 2. Alexander and Dryad are both decent-ish cards. Let's take the Alexander here. Dryad to the bottom. I've already got kind of a removal engine with the Balthier, technically. We'll go 1 for the Alexander to draw. Tomos will activate 2. Zidane. Alright. Gonna go 2 for Zidane. That's going to be a 4th cast Zidane. Kind of in a bit of fantasy land there. Would have been helpful to see more backups earlier. Let's go for just a couple more test hands potentially. Sorry about the lighting and the camera really is not wanting to focus today, is it? I wonder if I went a little higher, if it would like it more. Maybe I'm just too close and it doesn't know how to respond. There's trying to focus on the Vaughn face and then the hand gets in the way and it's what am I supposed to be focusing on? Alright. A couple more good shuffles. Let's see what we got. Balthier, Fran, Kites, Vieira and Alexander. This hand is fantastic. Draw one more. Fina. I really want to keep the Balthier and the Fran. So we're going to go these two for kites. We're going to really hope we hit a category 12. Chocobo, Lusso, and Jote. That's really good. So when I grab the Jote, this is the real power play I was talking about earlier. Kite's going to activate himself. So we can actually play the Vieira on the very first turn of the game on curve, which I'm going to do right now. We're going to reveal top two. Lulu and a second kites. Let's grab the Lulu just to get her into rotation a bit. And let's go to our next turn. Lulu, Bismarck. We don't need that, so let's go Lulu away for the Jote. I kind of like getting Mirn here. That way I can kind of keep the Fran in deck for later. Although I also imagine that the Balthier would be a decent option as well. Or the Fran for the Balthier would be decent, but... Alright. So let's go next two. Ooh, okay. We are cooking. Let's go two for the Mirn. Let's activate the Jote. Let's go Carpenter for free. I really like the idea of just casting the Vaughn and seeing what we find off the top. Another Vaughn. Cool. And let's hold there. We'll go one more turn, see what all shows up. Kites, Chocobo, and alright. So we're going to go 4 for Balthier. Then let's go Lulu. Lulu adds back the Alexander, which is the only summon available. Let's go discard the Kites to the Balthier to activate all of our backups. A couple options here. I can Chocobo back the Vaughn for a free draw. Or I can Chocobo back the Lulu to repeat it. Let's go ahead and redo the Lulu one time. So we'll go 2 Chocobo. Also got the ability to go 5 for Bismarck. Bismarck back the Vaughn. Or during the end phase. Or Chocobo back Vaughn, cast Vaughn, Vaughn bounce back with Bismarck in the end phase. To potentially dig more. That's not bad either. If I wanted to dig for Lusso, you definitely probably have to do the Lulu so it's repeatable. So something like Vieira and Bismarck, or sorry, Chocobo for 2 to add back the Lulu and draw. Let's go Alexander. Let's draw 2 more cards. Pinello and Lusso, perfect. Go 2 for Pinello. Activate. That is cast number 5. We can go this and this for the Lulu. Add back the Chocobo. And then 1 for the Lusso. That's 7 casts right there with still 3 cards in hand, 5 backups. And I can do just about anything I want to. If my opponent does board wipe me, Pinello can add back either the Balthier or the Vaughn. Let's say hypothetically our opponent does board wipe us. And we Chocobo back the Lulu on the stack. Pinello would die, and we add back the Vaughn. Alright. Really wish I could find a Rosa here. That would be really nice. Let's go Jote and 1 for Lulu. Get back our Chocobo. Let's go 1 for Nini. On the stack of that, let's go ahead and go 2 for Chocobo on the Lulu. So we'll draw. Nini then we can look at the top card of our deck, put it on top or bottom. We don't have any use for Fran at the moment because we don't have a Balthier on the field, so we can take the extra draw. Vieira is really interesting here. Let's go ahead and crack the kites to activate the Vieira and the Jote. Let's do that. And we're probably not casting the Bismarck this game because we're seeming to try to do our thing over and over again. For Vieira, top 2, Riku and Azura. We'll take the Azura. We kind of need more casts. 1 for the Azura. 1, 2, and 3 for Lulu to add back the Azura. Free cast the Vaughn to draw a card. And then here we can go Azura for Lusso, board wipe, and draw, and we're right back where we started. Could even go something like this to bounce the Lusso and do it all over again. You see the power of the Nini there, though, as well, for sure. And the Vaughn. Like, the Vaughn was just a very nice, free cast in all those situations. We talked about Warrior of Light and how he refunds all the CP on entry. Vaughn is, to me, a very similarly powerful card, just without all of the keywords that make Warrior of Light have a bit of utility as an anti-aggro card. Alright, one more hand. Very fun to solitaire this deck, if you haven't noticed. Alright, what we got? Carpenter, Chocobo, Jote, Vieira, and Rosa. We will absolutely keep this hand. Draw 1 into Azura. I like just getting the Jote down here. And let's go search out. I like the Mirn for where we're at. Alright, let's go ahead and see where we are at. Actually, I think a really interesting turn could maybe come up next here. Well, maybe not. We're close to one, though. Alright, let's take the draw. Balthier and Fran. Alright. So if we needed to, we could go Balthier for like the Rosa and the Carpenter. And then tap this for the Fran. That would be a 9k ping to go kill something. Or, if we're going to play it a little bit slower, we have the Mirn. I can go 1 and that for Vieira. Let's go discard. We'll say the Balthier here. If we know we're in a slower match, but we don't need them. Top 2. Jote and Dryad. I'll take the Jote here. And we can discard the Jote into the Fran. And we can go ahead and free cast our Carpenter as well. Alright, we have 4 backups. We now have Riku and Mjorn. So we can go Fran and Jote for Mjorn. Activates those 2. Go these 2 for the, or these 3 for the Rosa. Can go 1 for Riku. Activate everyone. Can go 2 for Riku. Reveal and draw. Cast Vaughn for free. Vaughn will draw, Rosa will do the reveal. So Rosa reveal is Fina. Actually a bit of a weird one. I'm going to go ahead and allow the Fina to be played. Because I think it's a little more interesting, but you could very easily just decline, draw the Fina with the Vaughn, and then you have the negate. But the draw would be a second Vaughn, a little bit less useful. We could then, if we really wanted to keep digging, we could crack our Vieira. Look at the top 2, which is a pair of Zidanes. Go ahead and just, we could discard the Vaughn, play the Zidane, and go from there. Probably the correct decision would have been to use Rosa to play the Fina instead. Since the Ritz didn't get a ton of value there. And then the next turn we have Nini and Fina in hand. So hopefully we steal like a forward or something with one of our Zidane triggers there. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. I don't know that this is the best variant. Like I said, I have... where did I put that? I think it's in here. I have a variant of this deck in my another deck box that just plays the Sophia, the Jack Garlands, alongside a lot more of a control-y package. But I do think this is a very powerful way to play the deck, and I would not be surprised if it ends up being one of the best ways to do so. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all for the next one.